Good morning, students. Today I am going to teach the second unit in the course, that is value education course, and in that we are learning about the environment and its significance. So we wish to learn importance and scope of environmental studies here. But before I start with what I want to teach, let me explain something to you. That is precisely what environment means. In the foregone units, we have learned the definition, scope, and components of environment as such. So we already know and we already have some idea about what exactly environment means. But to be more precise, because many times when it comes to the terminology, that is environmental science, people feel that environmental science is a field of science, it is a branch of science, and only the science students are supposed to learn more about environment. But environment is a part of everyone's life, because we all are surrounded with by our environment. And so knowing more about our environment, studying our environment for our own benefit, for our own well-being is very necessary, is very important, and hence it is necessary for us to understand what exactly environment means, what is the scope of the environment, and what is the scope of environmental studies in the discipline, whether it is the discipline of science or whether it is a discipline of arts or commerce. So as I said that in the foregone discussion in the earlier units, we have already learned, we have already understood the definition and scope and the components of environment. You know, if I ask one of you, what are the components of environment? I am very sure that one of you would recollect or recall your memories from school and say that the environment is made up of two basic components, such as the non-living components and living components. Well, so that is the basic which we all have learned in our school days, and we wish to learn for more about it, further about it in our value education course. It is a 2 credit course, as everyone knows, and it is a mandatory course for everyone to complete. Well, so coming to the definition of environment, the environment refers to the complex system of physical, biological, social, and cultural elements that surrounds and influence living organisms and their interactions. So it refers to the complex system of physical, biological, social, cultural elements. So when you study your environment, you are studying everything which surrounds you. Whatever is present around you is your environment, right? So whatever is present around me is a part of my environment. The air present around me, right? The soil present around me, water bodies present around me, all the other animals which are coexisting with me in this surrounding, everything is a part of my environment. Not only that, but my social interactions with other people, right? My cultural background, everything makes a part of my environment. So environment refers to the complex system. Because why complex? Because all biological entities are going to react with the physical and chemical entities of this particular environment. I am going to react, I am going to have some kind of effect on me with the air which is present around me. I am going to have the effect of water bodies around on me, and I'm also going to have the effect of the other biological entities which are present around me. So I'm going to have the effect of all these entities on me, and so the system becomes a complex system. So environment refers to the complex system of physical, biological, and social and cultural elements that surrounds and influence living organisms and their interactions, because we are constantly interacting with each other. I am interacting with the animals which are coexisting around me in some or the other way, maybe directly or indirectly, right? And environment encompasses both natural world, which is of course made up of landscapes, ecosystem, climate, and natural resources, and the human made or built environment What do I mean by human made and built environment? That includes cities, buildings, gardens, right, and other infrastructures. So in my environment, I have certain natural things, many natural things, and I have many man-made things, human-made things. So environment is a dynamic and interconnected system where changes in one component can have cascading effect on the other. What do I exactly mean by this? That is, if there is a change, for example, if there is a change in the temperature of the environment, it will have its effect on the rainfall, right? And in turn the rainfall will have the effect on the farming system of human beings, right? We are farming, we are doing the agriculture, so we are going to have the effect of one thing on the other thing. So the and all are linked with each other. The effect of one particular component on the other component is linked to each other, and so we say that it is a cascading effect, right? So as I said, temperature will have effect on the water water cycle, that is rainfall. Rainfall will have effect on the agriculture will ultimately have the effect on human beings, and this the process of having these effects inter inter one into each other or interrelated to each other is going to go on and on. So understanding and protecting the environment is essential for ensuring well-being of all living organisms. So why at all are we learning about environmental system? Why are we learning about the environment as such? Because as I earlier said, as I said in the beginning, that it is necessary for our own well-being, for our own welfare. If we don't understand our environment properly, will not be able to protect our environment, will not be able to save our environment, and that will have the detrimental effect on human beings. So the understanding of the environment is necessary for well-being of all living organisms, that includes human beings, and for promoting sustainability. Because see, whatever is good, whatever has been created by human beings, whatever has been created by the nature, has to sustain, has to remain, because the next generation is going to need it. So it is our duty, it is our responsibility to sustain all such things which are natural, which are man-made, and which are good for the human life and good for the life of other organisms as well, right? And that sustainability can be achieved only if we learn the about the environment, if we learn the management of the environment. So responsible resource management and harmonious relationship between human society and the natural world. For all this, we have to understand our environment properly. Now, what is the importance of environmental studies? So why it should become a standalone component of our education? Why should we include environmental studies in our education at all? It is necessary so that right from childhood, or right in the right age, in the correct age, the young minds are molded and they understand, they are made to understand their responsibilities towards the environment and in turn towards next generation, right? So environmental studies is a multidisciplinary field. It is a multidisciplinary field. Why multidisciplinary? Because here we are going to talk about the physics of environment. We are going to talk about the chemistry of environment, biology of environment, right? As I said earlier in the upper paragraph, or while introducing the topic, I said that environment also includes your social structure and the cultural background. So it becomes a multidisciplinary field because it includes almost everything, right? So environmental studies is a multidisciplinary field that explores the interactions between human society and the environment. It focuses on understanding, analyzing, and addressing various environmental issues to promote sustainability and to ensure well-being of current and future generations. So today I am concerned about the well-being of my own generation, because I am a part of the system today. But our future generation is going to be a part of the environment in coming years, and all my future human beings, all the future generation people are going to require the resources as much as I need them, as much as we need them today. And so it is our responsibility that for our future generation, we have to save, protect, conserve the resources. The importance and scope of environmental studies are vast and encompasses various aspects, right? Which are the various aspects that we have to understand. So before I continue, I would like to explain certain points over here, right? With certain terminologies here. So the key aspects of environmental science, the first key aspect is studying the ecosystem. But as I said, I would like to make you understand what ecosystem means, right? We have been visiting various places right from childhood. You all may have visited the seashore, right, and may have seen the sea, right? You may have visited the rivers, right? Maybe mountains, hill stations, and something like that, right? Now, all of them are separate ecosystems. So, ecosystem is an entity, right? It is an entity, it is a natural entity, and it is made up of the physical components as mentioned earlier, right? The physical components can be air, it can be the landscapes, right? And so on, as well as temperature, of course. It is also made up of chemical factors, right? Such as water, then we have the chemical resources such as the ores and the minerals and things like that, right? So there are chemical factors as well in the as well as we have physical factors, we also have the chemical factors in the environment. Besides these chemical factors, we also have biological factors, and the interaction of all these things with each other forms a particular ecosystem. Every ecosystem has its own characteristic feature. For example, the marine ecosystem has its own characteristic feature, whereas the freshwater ecosystem has its own characteristic feature. Freshwater ecosystem means rivers, lakes, ponds, they form freshwater ecosystems. So the characteristic features of the freshwater ecosystems are different than the characteristic features of the marine ecosystem, right? In marine ecosystem, everyone knows marine ecosystem means ecosystem of sea, ecosystem of ocean, right? In this ecosystem, you know that the main or the primary material or the primary physical factor is the marine water, and it is saline, it is salty, whereas in freshwater ecosystem, the water is not salty. With this particular factor itself, the living organisms surviving in the ocean would be different than the living organisms surviving in the freshwater. Because freshwater organisms, the organisms which survive in freshwater, in river water, cannot tolerate the salty water of the marine ecosystem or the ocean. Similarly, the organisms which survive in the marine ecosystem or in the ocean cannot tolerate the non-saline water of the rivers. So as I said, that every environment or every ecosystem has different characteristic features. So it encompasses all living organisms within a specific area or habitat, that is ecosystem encompasses, it is a physical structure, it is a physical entity, ecosystem, and it encompasses all the living organisms within a specific area or habitat, as well as the non-living components such as soil, water, air, climate, etc. Even the pressure, right? See, even a pressure is a very important component of any ecosystem. As you know, that when you are swimming along the surface of the water or just little below the surface of water, the pressure of water isn't so much, is not much. But as you swim downwards, as you go downwards in the water pressure goes on increasing. So with increasing depth, the pressure of water increases. And pressure is also one of the limiting factor. So not only temperature, air, soil, etc., but also the pressure is one of the important factor of any given ecosystem. So ecosystem encompasses all living organisms within a specific area or habitat, as well as the non-living components such as soil, water, air, and climate, with which these organisms interact. Ecosystems can vary widely in size from small microenvironments such as pond to vast biomes like tropical rainforest or desert. So ecosystem, a forest is also an ecosystem, right? As I said earlier, pond is also an ecosystem. Lake is also ecosystem. Pond is a smaller water body. Lakes are generally larger than ponds, and rivers, as you know, they are flowing. It is a flowing water. So in a pond and lake, the water is stationary. The stationary condition of the water or a stagnant condition of water is also one of the limiting factor of the ecosystem. Whereas in river, the water is in a flowing form. So the flow of water is also going to have some kind of impact on the organism which are surviving in that river. Whereas the stagnancy of the water, right, in pond and lake, as I said, the water is stagnant. So stagnancy of the water is also a limiting factor and going to have the effect on the organisms which are living in ponds and water lakes. So the water ecosystem, which we scientifically say aquatic ecosystem, can be a pond, sorry, can be a pond, which can be small, right? For that matter, a small puddle, which is much smaller than a pond, can also become or can also continue as an ecosystem. It could puddles are short-lived; they are for smaller duration, right? Whenever it is a rainfall in small pits or in small what do you say, in small places, the water gets accumulated, and that is called puddle. But in that puddle also some kind of organism starts growing. So maybe for a small period, maybe for a shorter period, puddle also becomes a ecosystem. Pond is little more bigger, right? And it could be perennial. Perennial means it is persisting forever. Lakes are much bigger than ponds, right? But seas and oceans are and bays, right? The creeks and estuaries are much more bigger. So ecosystems can vary in their size. There can be a smaller forest, or there can be a very big forest as big as Amazon forest. So the ecosystems can vary in size, shape, and the type of organisms, the kind of abiotic factors which govern the ecosystem are going to differ from one ecosystem to the other ecosystem. For example, again, in desert, if you consider temperature as one of the limiting factor or one of the physical factor, the temperature is much higher in desert compared to the rainforest. So, depending on which ecosystem it is, depending on the location, geographical position of the ecosystem, the temperature, the pressure, the flow of wind, right, everything is going to differ. So ecosystem not only varies in size, but also varies in other characteristics such as the types of physical factors, chemical factors, and the organisms surviving over there. I would not, I will not be wrong if I say that the physical and chemical factors of the ecosystem are the deciding factors for the kind of biological or biological entities or organisms which are going to grow in a particular ecosystem. They are physical factors or chemical factors which would decide that which kind of organisms are going to grow in a particular ecosystem. So environmental scientists examine ecosystem and their components which includes plants, animal, microorganisms and their interactions. So when we say organisms, generally we think about plants. They're big, they can be seen, they are seen with naked eyes. So we say that they are plants, right? Or we think about bigger animals like dogs, cats, etc. But organisms can be very small, right? Not visible to naked eyes. For example, bacteria, or they can be microorganisms such as amoeba, paramecium, euglena. These are the small organisms. You have heard these names in your school days, right? So they are small organisms visible only under microscopes, and so we say they are microscopic organisms or microorganisms. So they are also the part of ecosystem. They seek to understand the functioning and dynamics of these systems. So what is the role of scientist? The scientist who is learning about the environment, that is environmental scientist, learn about the interactions and of the various components of the ecosystem such as plants, animals, microorganisms, etc. So the second point over here is environmental impact assessment, right? Importance of environmental studies is also seen in a particular field called environmental impact assessment. So environmental impact assessment, that is EIA, is a systematic and comprehensive process used to evaluate and predict the potential environmental, social and economic consequences of proposed project, policies, programs or activities. What do I exactly mean by this? Let's try to understand it with the help of example. Now per se, government has launched a particular project, right? Per se, government has launched a project of uh, building a flyover, constructing a flyover. Now, while constructing a flyover, several trees would be, it would be necessary to cut down several trees, right? It would be necessary to cut down several trees while constructing a flyover, right? So in a particular project, for example, construction of flyover, how many trees would be cut down? That has to be calculated. If they are cut down, then what may happen with the quality of air in that particular area? Because as all of us know that trees are necessary for maintaining the air quality. Those trees give us oxygen, right? Trees give us oxygen and it is necessary for respiration and also take away carbon dioxide from air for the process of photosynthesis. So trees take away carbon dioxide, which is not required by us. In fact, it is a harmful gas for us and it is produced during our respiration. So trees take away the carbon dioxide from air, right, and produce their food, and at the same time they give away oxygen which is necessary for us for respiration. So because of the trees, the environment quality or the air quality would be maintained. So if for a particular project, that could be construction of the flyover, if many trees are cut down, then what may happen to the air quality in that particular environment? Trees are also necessary to bring the monsoon in time, or the monsoon cycle from the for timely monsoon to arrive. It is necessary to have good number of trees. You cut down all the trees and you destroy the forest and the monsoon will be erratic. It won't come on time then, right? And the pattern will be wrong. Now in this case, it is necessary that for a particular project, maybe construction of highways, construction of the flyovers, construction of big buildings, if particular area has been cleared of the trees, all trees are cut down from there, then what kind of impact that particular project is going to have on the environment? Or the another example could be mining activities. You want to remove the ores and minerals from the particular forest and you start the mining activity there. With this, what will happen to the trees, right? What will happen to the animals which are staying in that particular area? All that has to be assessed and that is called impact assessment, environmental impact assessment. The primary objective of EIA is to, that is environmental impact assessment, is to provide decision makers with essential information to make informed choices regarding whether to approve, modify or reject a particular project or action based on the potential impact on the environment and society. So environmental scientists will write a report after assessing the particular environment. An assessor is a person who is going to assess the particular environment or the impact of a project on that environment, right? And after assessing, he would write the particular report, and in that report he is supposed to mention that what may happen to the environment if the particular project is launched, right? In that case, it is necessary for the assessor to also write the suggestions that the project can be approved as there are no damages to the environment, or the project has to be modified because there are the moderate damages to the environment, or the project has to be completely rejected because the environment is likely to get completely damaged because of the particular project, right? This kind of suggestion the environmentalist or the assessor is supposed to give to the governing body. It can be the government, it can be the private body, it can be NGO or something like that. So this involves evaluating the potential environmental consequences of human activities such as construction projects, industrial processes, land and land use changes to mitigate negative impacts. So you want to stop those negative impacts of a particular project. Land uses are going to change in future. A particular land which it is changing very fast. The particular land which we were using for agricultural purpose now is being used for erecting the industries or maybe the housing projects, right? And that may have impact on the soil quality of that particular area. With that, when the soil quality changes, the plant species growing in that particular area may also change. That will change the birds and animals which are visiting that area, right? So impact assessment becomes a very important part of our environmental studies. Important impact aspects of impact assessment are, there are certain aspects of impact assessment. They are identification of a project, then baseline data collection. So you collect the data that what is the oxygen level of this particular area, what is carbon dioxide level, how many plants are present, how many birds visit this area, so on and so forth. Then impact prediction. That particular project is erected, the particular project has been incepted. With that, what may happen? So the prediction has to be done. Then alternative analysis. So if this project is modified in another way, what may happen, right? Will it reduce the impact on the environment or it will aggravate the impact? That has to be done. Then we have to give the we have to also involve public in that. So the people who are staying around that area, the localites, they are supposed to be involved in this particular project, right? Because ultimately who will be impacted? The people staying in that particular area will be impacted. So it is necessary that we include those people also in the project. Then environmental impact statement, right? So once you have done the assessment, the impact assessment statement has to be written, as I said earlier. Then decision making, that is obviously left with the authorities. What decision has to be taken? They are going to take it on the basis of the assessment submitted by an assessor. And ultimately last is monitoring and follow-up. So once you have given the suggestion, your suggestions are accepted by the governing body, and with those modifications they may incept a particular project. They may start a particular project. Once the project is started, it is necessary that you monitor the environment of around that project and take the follow-ups regularly so that you understand what exactly the project has done to the environment. So environmental impact assessment is a critical tool for ensuring that development and infrastructure projects are conducted in a manner that minimizes harm to the environment and safeguards the well-being of the community. Right? So assessment is necessary so that the impact is minimized. See, you can't say no to development. You will have to construct the flyovers, you will have to construct the buildings, right? You will have to change the land use pattern, right? You can't force that in this particular land my grandfather used to do a particular job, so that has to be continued. No, that cannot be said, right? So we'll have to, if you want development, you will have to construct, you will have to uh, start the industries, you will have to construct the buildings and the roads and things like that. So obviously they are going to have some kind of impact on the environment, but we want to minimize them as much as possible. So environmental impact assessment can help us definitely in that particular process. Right? Now conservation and biodiversity. Environmental scientists work to protect and conserve Earth's biodiversity, including endangered species, and to maintain the balance of the ecosystem. Precisely what endangered species means, right? Precisely what the word biodiversity conservation means. These terminologies are known to those who are from science. Those who are from commerce background or arts background, many of you all must be already knowing the meaning of these terminologies also. But it is possible that some of you do not know the meaning of these terminologies. Now, before I continue, I would like to simply say that if I mention that from this world, all elephants are going to vanish, they are going to disappear, right? And in time to come, there won't be any elephant left in this world, whether African elephant or Asiatic elephants, there won't be any elephants left in this world. And I'm very sure if I say this, then most of us will be feeling very, very sad about it, because we identify elephant as a magnificent animal and we all love this animal. But same is true about other animals. It is true about the plants also, right? We don't want any plant, any animal to vanish completely from this world. We want them to remain, right? And the slow but a definite process of destruction of the particular species is nothing but endangering that particular species. So to endanger means it is a process in which a particular species of the organism is getting destroyed, and it will be permanently destroyed and will not be seen in this world. Now the day on which it is permanently destroyed and not seen in this world, we say that the particular species is extinct now. Right? For example, dodo. Dodo was a duck-like bird, right? And it is extinct completely. Woolly mammoth, it is completely extinct. Indian cheetahs, it is completely, this species is completely extinct, right? African cheetahs are there. And so our honorable Prime Minister thought that there should be cheetahs in India once again. And so he bought cheetahs from Africa, from African continent to India, so that we have the cheetah population once again. But Indian cheetahs are extinct, right? So extinction is a process where the particular species of the organism is completely gone from face of earth, right? And the process in which their number is getting reduced slow by slow is nothing but endangering that particular species. Now, environmental scientist has a role or plays a very important role in protecting these species. It is necessary for us to protect. So, the process in which you protect the species and see to it that they sustain, they remain in this world is nothing but conservation. So environmental scientists work to protect and conserve Earth's biodiversity. What is biodiversity? The diverse forms of biological entities in the world is called biodiversity. Earth's biodiversity means the diverse forms of the organisms in the world. That is Earth's biodiversity. So environmental scientists work to protect and conserve Earth's biodiversity, including endangered species, and to maintain the balance of ecosystem. Now, environmental science plays a pivotal role in the conservation and preservation of biodiversity, which refers to the variety and variability of life on Earth, including the multitude of species, their genetic diversity, and the ecosystem they inhabit. So we are not only supposed to conserve the population of a particular animal. We are not supposed to only conserve or protect a small population of elephants. If you want elephants to survive, you will have to also conserve and protect the forest ecosystem. That is the ecosystem where elephants live. If you do not have the forest, you cannot have the elephants. One or two elephants as pet or domesticated pets can be kept somewhere outside your house if you have a bigger house, right? Very big house, bungalow or something like that, a property, right? But if you want a very large population of elephants to sustain and remain in this world, you will obviously require the forest ecosystem. So conservation includes ecosystem conservation and protection as well as the conservation and protection of a particular species. So here are some keywords in which environmental science contributes to the conservation and biodiversity protection. How exactly we do it? So there are certain keywords. Biodiversity assessment. So to conserve, you will obviously you will have to understand how much biodiversity exists in a particular ecosystem. Then habitat assessment and restoration. So what kind of habitat is required for an animal or a plant which has to be conserved? That has to be assessed. And if the habitat is destroyed, we'll have to reconstruct that habitat. So that is restoration. Then species conservation, ecosystem services, protected area management. So if a particular area is protected as a forest, we'll have to manage that and see to it that it is not damaged by the localites. Then invasive species management. So there are some species which are invasive. They are introduced in our ecosystem from outside and we have to manage those species. Otherwise, what may happen that they may grow tremendously and our own indigenous species may get destroyed. Then genetic diversity conservation, conservation of policy and laws. Then we have to write certain policies and write certain laws so that those laws and policies can be used for the against a person who is trying to destroy the ecosystem, try to kill the animals, right? So enforcing a law against the destruction of the ecosystem so that the particular ecosystem can be conserved, right, is necessary. Then sustainable land use and resource management, education and advocacy. What we are exactly doing right now, we are trying to educate everyone that how necessary, how important it is to conserve the environment. So education and advocacy. Then climate change mitigation. Everyone is nowadays shouting there is a climate change, the temperature has increased tremendously because of the climate change and so on. And that climate change mitigation has to be done. We have to stop the climate change so that the temperature doesn't increase further, right? And global warming does not take place. Then international collaboration. So we have to, our scientists must work with the other scientists of other countries so that we all make a team and the entire world can be, the ecosystem of entire world can be conserved, all biodiversity can be conserved. So environmental science provides the knowledge, tools and expertise needed to understand, protect and restore biodiversity. It plays a central role in efforts to conserve the Earth's diverse interconnected web of life, ultimately contributing to the well-being of both ecosystems and human society. So with the help of environmental science, we will be able to conserve, we will be able to sustain, right? And the human life and the life of other organisms can be made better, right? So with this, I would like to stop for the day and we would continue with the other components of the environmental studies, which are pollution control, then we have resource management, then we have environmental policies and laws, right? Then we have public health and environmental health, and of course sustainable development. These are the other components, some more few more components of the environmental studies that we will be covering in the next lecture. So thank you for patient listening, and questions will be shared with you with the help of another link, or maybe with the help of the Word document. It will be shared with all of you on your WhatsApp groups. Thank you so much, and see you in the next lecture.